When will The Elder Scrolls 6 release? Since E3 2018, it is the question on everyone's mind, and one we only have a few scraps of information available to answer it. At the end of Bethesda's E3 2018 showcase, they revealed both Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. This was done primarily to quell the backlash from the online-only release of Fallout 76. Now, we wait. While Bethesda has also been busy pumping out updates and fixes for Fallout 76, they are still, presumably, also hard at work on both Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. We've known about Starfield for some time, and Todd Howard mentioned in an interview that the reason that it has not been released is that technology was not available at the time to make the game he envisioned. So then, we have a few scenarios available to us. The most plausible is that Starfield will release first and within this gaming generation, or at least as a cross-generation title. That is, on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and maybe at release of the newer consoles. At a Game Awards interview panel, Todd Howard confirmed that Starfield was coming first. He told Jeff Keighley that after Fallout 76 released, that Bethesda would be placing a full development team on the title, though it had been in some form of active development since 2015 after the release of Fallout 4. Assuming that current generation consoles can run this game, or that it will release at the outset of the next generation, Starfield is likely around 18 to 24 months away from release. Microsoft has been rumored to be announcing preliminary details on the next generation Xbox console at E3 2019, and if that is the case, we are looking at a 2020 release of that console. It makes sense that Sony will also be releasing the PlayStation 5 sometime next year as well. Bethesda has to decide if they want to release Starfield on a new generation of consoles with a much smaller user base. This is important because it directly affects the timeline for release as well as the number of sales the game can have early in its lifespan. However, if it is a cross-generation release, like what Nintendo did with Zelda Breath of the Wild, then it offers the best of both worlds for both consumers and Bethesda. That said, I am worried based on Todd Howard's comments that this sounds more like a next-generation game. I cannot imagine Bethesda releasing Starfield within the first 12 months of a new console's release if it is only on that generation of consoles. The user base is just not there, especially when we were talking about a development cycle of over 7 years by that time. The PC community makes up a large portion of sales for Bethesda games, but they would effectively be limiting their potential sales by a substantial amount. How does this affect The Elder Scrolls 6 then? Well, we have to assume that there has at least been a pre-production team placed over the title for some time now. They would be working on concept art, story, quests, how major gameplay elements will be implemented, etc. The idea is that once Starfield is completed, the entire team moves into full production on The Elder Scrolls 6 very quickly. Another element of the timeline for release hinges on the development tools available to create the game. If Bethesda has created or licensed a new engine that they are developing Starfield with, then this is fantastic news for the development of The Elder Scrolls 6. Using a new engine to develop Starfield means that everyone on the team would already be intimately familiar with it. It cannot be overstated how important this is to development timelines. Developer familiarity with an engine can cut out months of time when making a game. I just do not see any way that Bethesda is using the creation engine for either Starfield or the next Elder Scrolls at this point, especially with the issues it has created in Fallout 76. So, if Starfield releases in fall 2020 as a next-generation or cross-generation game, and Bethesda immediately moves into full development on The Elder Scrolls 6 with a new, but familiar engine, then I believe that the game could be ready for release by fall 2022. That is 2 full years of development, knowing that there have been several years of pre-production getting the game ready to go. Alternatively, if Bethesda is using the creation engine in some form to complete Starfield, I still do not believe that they would be using it for The Elder Scrolls 6. This is the issue with not knowing basically anything about Starfield. It sounds ambitious, but we don't know how ambitious and what the limiting factors on current or earlier generations of consoles were that prevented development of the game. If Bethesda finishes Starfield and then has to create a new engine for The Elder Scrolls 6, this would add at least another year of development time to the game. This puts us at a 2023 release date, at least halfway through the next generation of consoles. Still, that is only 4 years away, even though it sounds a lot longer. We are already in 2019 after all. Worst case scenario is 2 additional years of development time for the game, putting it out in 2024, a full 13 years after the release of Skyrim. In all of these timelines, we are assuming that neither game enters some kind of development hell. Say what you want about Todd Howard, but outside of Fallout 76, all of Bethesda's games he has been director on seem to have had reasonable development times and were released within a few years of his last major game. So, what is the most realistic option then? I think Bethesda will be adding more developers to their team in order to keep development moving along swiftly. The stunning failure of Fallout 76 means that Bethesda likely can't rest on their laurels any longer. I'd be shocked if Starfield is not released by fall 2020, since that will have been 5 years since their last major release, Fallout 4. Fallout and the Elder Scrolls are by far Bethesda's biggest moneymakers. 6 years between tentpole releases is likely too long. Only 2 developers have that kind of leeway. One is Nintendo, and the other is Rockstar. So, if I had to bet, I would say that we will most likely see The Elder Scrolls 6 in fall 2022, with the next most likely release date to be fall 2023. That seems like a long way away, but if we get Starfield next year, by the time we have all completed the game, it may already be mid-2021. By then, The Elder Scrolls 6 would be coming in the next year and a half or so after that. Here's to hoping Bethesda provides more details on both games at this year's E3, or at least for Starfield, so we can have a better idea when it will be coming. However long it takes, we've already waited this long. What's another 3 or 4 years then, right? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.